is there anything being done about the plastic in the environment? Because around Glasgow, I've seen a lot of plastic and litter just being thrown, especially on the motorway.
Very, very good question. I'm actually quite surprised it's taken so long for this question to come up, because it's becoming one of the most frequent questions I get asked about by young people, because I think young people care a lot about the environment. So in terms of plastics, and lots of people will have watched the television programme about plastics and the impact on our oceans and beaches. Two broad things that we're trying to do. Firstly is to reduce the amount of plastic that people use in the first place. So we're about to ban, these plastic cotton buds. We're about to ban them, for example. So where, plastic things are not really necessary, we want to try to reduce them being used at all. So, everybody now, hopefully, is much more thinking about, whether it's coffee cups or any single-use plastic items, is there an alternative to that? So that's the first thing. And then the second thing is to try to recycle more and reduce throwing away of these things. So we're also about to introduce what's called a deposit return scheme for plastic bottles, and so that instead of them being thrown away, they're returned and recycled. Other countries do that, and we're about to do that as well. So it's about cutting down the amount of plastic we use, because a lot of the plastic we use, you'll know what it's like if you see things in, plastic packaging that's not necessary. So let's stop using plastic, but then when we do, make sure that it's being treated properly, not thrown away so that it pollutes our seas.
Good stuff.
Great question.
That's a great question. If I could just follow up with you, First Minister, because you mentioned plastic and things lying around on the streets, lying around in our roads. I'm not sure what it's like in your towns and cities we're all coming from. It's a problem here in Glasgow, and when we raise it with the council, they say it's because their budgets are getting cut.
Well, I represent a constituency in Glasgow, as I've said a couple of times now. I raise with the council regularly some of the issues of litter and street cleaning regularly. In fact, I mentioned Pollock Shields again. I had a meeting in my constituency office just a couple of weeks ago with the cleansing department of Glasgow City Council about issues like that in Pollock Shields. So I find the council in Glasgow is quite responsive, but it's got a big job of work to do. And I'm not trying to let councils off the hook here at all, because it's their responsibility to make sure the streets are clean. But we've all got a responsibility to make sure the streets are clean. And I think it's important that all of us see this as a collective thing, because if something's lying in the street and you get frustrated because the council's not picking it up quickly enough, that's fine. You should do, and the council has to be accountable for that. But somebody's thrown that in the street in the first place. And so we've got a joint collective responsibility to keep our streets clean. And I think that's something that, in my experience, young people have got a big part to play in by trying to educate older people about some of what you all know is important, but perhaps people of my generation, well, I can't include you, I'm not even sure if I can include you in that, that my generation maybe have habits that are not as good as they should be.